Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Everyman's Odyssey podcast, where we explore the challenges and values of authentic masculinity through sharing stories and ideas. I'm the host and founder of the podcast, Cole McClure. For today's episode, we actually have an interview with my brother-in-law, Jason Morris. This episode will be the first part of a two-part series. The interview actually went a lot longer than we anticipated. If you'd like to see the full uncut video, that'll be up on the Patreon page. It goes a little bit longer, and you can kind of see how the sun goes down there. In the background, you might hear some strange noises. My brother Jason will be lighting his cigar with a butane torch. So you might want to check your volume on that one. But hope you guys enjoy the episode. I had a lot of fun recording it. Here we go. All right, so just to get started, I was thinking, I've got some questions here, but just to start,
Okay.
if you want to give just background, just take a couple minutes and tell everybody about yourself and where you're from and what you're doing now.
Well, my name is Jason Morris. I grew up in Southern California, born and raised. I'm in Texas now, 41 years old. Still haven't figured out anything as far as, you need to be here, and here by a certain age. I'm finally hitting my stride.
Nice.
But I have 4 kids, married to your sister, and I don't know. I love cigars. I don't smoke them as much as I like to, but that is one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah,
And it's blowing right in your face. So
I actually
some people
enjoy it.
Some people don't. Some people hate it. They don't like it at all. Amber can't sit next to me, with a cigar, unless the wind's blowing the opposite way where she doesn't get it. So
I actually like the smell. I just don't like having it in my mouth. But it's been 10 years since I had one, so maybe I would like it now. But so the first question I'll start with is, because it is kind of a weird thing to do, why'd you agree to do the interview?
I think obviously you're my brother-in-law, but I think the title of it is Everyman's Odyssey. So it's not just I feel like you're not just going to be talking to people that have their shit together, or just talk to people that are just don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I think for me, I feel like I'm in between, in the middle. I feel like I'm not just faulty in all areas, but I definitely can improve in a lot of areas though. So I think with Everyman's Odyssey, just from kind of listening to the first couple things you had going on, the episodes, I feel like it's good to just get different men's perspective, because yes, we're all men and we all kind of struggle with the same thing, but we all kind of go through life differently.
Right.
You know what I mean? So everyone's struggle is different.
Yeah.
But we all have that. How do I put this? Men have this, and it's the hardest job because we put everything on our shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we internalize it a lot of the time.
Right.
So when things are kind of going sideways, men take on that burden.
Right.
And it's different for everybody. So I'm loving to share in that type of thing and be part of this, because I think it's helpful to hear different people's views and perspectives.
Right.
And then you take a buffet. I don't like that podcast.
Right. You can learn from this and not from that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll watch a podcast and I'm like, dude, that guy's an idiot. Or I'm like, dude, I really like this guy, and I just think having a different variety of types of people that have gone through different things is
Right.
I think the guy, how old was your other brother-in-law?
Yeah, Lonnie, he's 25.
So he's on the other,
and he just got engaged, so he's in a completely different phase of life.
Yeah, so that's why I'm kind of excited, and I'm also excited, see who else you get on.
Yeah.
Who else comes on this podcast in the future? You
Right.
know, getting somebody maybe your dad's age or our dad's age, in their 60s or.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so I was coming up with questions, and I was trying to think of well, shoot, I don't want to just ask all the same questions So I thought of questions for Lonnie, and then I'm trying to think of unique questions for you. And I did change it up, and I got a couple. But Nicole mentioned like, well, the point is every man's odyssey. So it is really interesting to like even ask the same questions, but you're getting completely different answers, different stories, because not only are different age and different stage of life that other people couldn't possibly understand or have experienced yet or went through something differently, but even if you talk to another guy from Southern California who's 41 and like, it's so unique to see the different answers, but underneath there's similar characteristics of like you said, like men taking on that responsibility, and that is an instinct, but then how they carry it can be so different. So I ended up keeping a lot of the questions the same, just so you can kind of see that, the change in perspective.
Okay. All right.
So after that, I wanted to see like, who is it you look to? Because like you said, like there's some things I'm really getting right, and there's some things that I'm not. So understanding that you don't have it all together. Who's someone that you look to in your life, or just someone that you've seen like social media or whatever, who's like maybe they don't have it all figured out either, but the things that they're getting right are the things that you wish you were getting right. So who do you look to for that type of?
So I mean, I think everyone's different when you kind of question yourself as a man, and like what do I need to do within my family to feel like when I wake up in the morning, like I'm fulfilling that purpose as a husband and father, and when I go to bed, the same thing, right?
Right.
I like to follow men that obviously they don't just talk like oh, you got to do it, but then they don't follow through in their actions.
Right.
So for me, that's why I kind of like to listen to a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately what resonates with me is like the no excuses type of thing.
Yeah.
Where, okay, yeah, there's hiccups and things happen outside of your control, and they're valid points.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like there is going to be a break, and in between those moments of that where you can't control, there's
Right. What are you doing?
There's moments where you can.
Yeah.
And are you instead just gonna like cry and be like, oh man, this? I mean, really, like, are you gonna get frustrated and then put yourself in that state of, oh man, like the world's against me.
Right.
Like things are falling apart. Like, I mean, it's valid. I'm not saying it's like no, I don't understand it because I do it.
Right.
So, but I like to follow men that are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like you're not where you're at. Well, that's your fault.
Right.
You know, you want to watch videos where men are in shape and they're taking control and disciplined. Well, that's because you're not being disciplined. Like
Right.
you're not taking those proper steps. And oh, there's not enough time today. Well, that's not true.
Everybody has the same amount of time.
Everybody has the same amount of time, and you can see it with certain people. There's people that run Fortune 500 companies, and they can find time to go and hit the gym.
Right, and they've got kids just like you've got
Everyone
kids.
does. I mean, you know what I mean? So I like listening to guys like Jordan Peterson. There's another guy, Ryan Stewman. He's so he lives in Dallas, but he runs he mostly has he's a sales closer, but he has like a big Facebook following for salespeople, and he's kind of the same way. But he used to be a felon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and 2-time felon.
Wow.
And now he runs his companies. He has multi-million-dollar companies, and it's nice to see someone like him be able to, at his age, he's in his 40s, didn't have his stuff together in his 20s or even his early 30s.
Right.
Like now he has a good family dynamic. You can tell his kids and his wife respect him.
Yeah.
And he gets to the gym early in the morning, gets up super early. There's just a lot of people that I follow that have like a regiment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm noticing amongst a lot of the people that I like to follow. It's like you got to put in the work. You got to get up and you got to just fight through it.
Right.
So for me, having those things in my feed, my Instagram feed or my whatever it is, it's just a constant reminder, like, you have to start, right?
Right.
And I don't know who it was. I think it was Ed Milet. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was him, but and it's so true. It's like one day or day one. and that's how you should be looking at yourself. Are you going to do whatever you want to do one day
Someday, yeah.
or is it day one? Like,
Right.
is it going to be like now? And it's really brutal. It's more brutal for me keeping it in my mind, wanting to be a better husband and father,
Right.
and then watching these people, like, and it's in my mind all the time. It gets at me because I know I have to change.
Yeah.
I do, and I'm not. So, not in all areas, but it just in mostly like the physical, getting up, working out, putting my body in shape. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fine to enjoy a cigar and have beer, but if that's all I'm doing,
Right.
and I'm not getting up and exercising, like, I'm not. Am I really being the person, that man, the husband that I should be?
Right.
No, I don't. That's me. Everyone's different. Like, but for me, like, I don't want that just to be like, oh, I have beer and cigars and I'll work hard. And no, I want to transform like everything.
Right.
And that's really, really hard.
Yeah.
You know, and so like following those types of people, it really, at least for me, it helps me just, okay, I'm in the one day, but
Right.
it's just, for me, it'll be day one. And, you know, I watch all these guys, and, you know, some of them, they're on there, they're exuding confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? You only get to see what they show you,
Right.
So you don't know what the struggle is in their personal lives, but
Yeah.
but there's no excuse, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's, for me, I don't know. There was another thing. I heard another thing about, which is really cool. Sorry to go off on tangents.
No.
Is there's two versions of you that exist. And one is the person you want to be, right? And your whole goal in life is to catch up to that person. So, like, I envision myself, like, I have a vision of who I want to be, right? And he's way ahead. Like, way down there. Like, that mountain pass down there, like, that's where he is. And when I know that I've done my job in life, it was when I've caught up to that version of myself.
Right.
And I think that's ultimately what all of us men, it's a race to be a better version of ourselves.
Right. Trying to catch up to the ideal of who you want to be.
Because at the end of the day, yeah, your kids are gonna love you, your wife's gonna respect you more. Like, all those things are great, but at the end of the day, it's like you go to bed with your mind, and if you're not happy with yourself, that's not on anybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, that mantra where I don't, like, the only opinion that really matters is the opinion you have of yourself.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, if you're a Christian, or yes, God's opinion matters, God's view matters, but I mean, specifically on a personal level.
Right. That has the biggest influence over your behavior.
Right. So I think that's my goal right now, is just having 4 young kids and a wife, is just trying to catch up to the better version of myself.
Yeah.
And just trying to get there before, you know,
Right.
physically I pass, you know what I mean?
Right,
And
yeah.
just I want to be able to say that, like, when I'm hopefully living an old age, and God, I'm proud of myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some people, they think, oh, I just want my dad to be proud of me. Like, ultimately, that is true, like, but I want to be proud of myself,
Right.
you know? So.
Yeah, you don't want to reach the end wishing that you had more time to catch up to yourself.
Right.
Have you read Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership? You can light it back up.
Yeah, well, sorry. I have not.
Oh. So I listened to his audiobook version of it recently, and I almost didn't even go through it, because I started, I'm like, man, just from the title, I don't know, like, it's just going to make me feel like crap. And I started listening to it, and he starts out with, so he was a Navy SEAL commander, and he starts telling this story about a friendly fire incident. And, you know, in a combat zone, dozens, if not hundreds of troops and city blocks involved in vehicles and snipers and different units, everything, so many moving parts. So a lot of different things go wrong that he didn't, you know, directly influence, that led to this friendly fire incident. And at the end of the day, when they're looking to see whose fault it is, like, he finally, you know, reached the conclusion, like, oh, it's my fault. Even though, you know, he didn't do this, he didn't make that mistake, it wasn't he didn't directly like, make any move that made that happen. But he was a commander, so whatever it is, he could have influenced something different somewhere. Like, well, shoot, if he can take responsibility for that, that has that type of consequence and that many other people involved and that many moving parts, then I for sure should be able to take accountability of my own life. I have so much more control over my own daily living and my own choices and habits than somebody has over an entire battlefield. So I started pushing through it, and it's really empowering. The way he talks about it is like, there are no excuses, like, and everybody has the same amount of time in the day. And so I thought it was going to be a real downer, but it is so freeing to look at it like, okay, well, everything's your fault. And obviously there are things that happen to you that you can't control, but like what you do with that from now on, it's your fault, good or bad. Like, so this extreme ownership idea of taking responsibility for your life. And yeah, so I follow him on Instagram, and I'll see these posts, 4:30 in the morning, he's up to go to the gym. I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm already getting up at 4:45, not just to make it to work on time. Like, so where, and then I start to give myself excuses, like, but you know what, like I could make it happen if it was more important to me than this or that, and I would still have time for my kids, just like other people go to the gym and go to work. And so it's good, yeah, to have those influences, whether they're direct or family or social media. Like, you have positive influencers on social media who show you, it's like a manifestation of your future self. Like, oh, that's the guy who's doing the things that I'm trying to get to. So it's really nice to have those types of things. And so he actually has another book I haven't read yet called, I think it's Discipline is Freedom, or Discipline Equals Freedom. And it talks about, like, yeah, you hate getting up at 4:30 in the morning, but you also hate not feeling like you don't have enough time in the day. So get up at 4:30, have the discipline to do that, and be free to do what you want with that time. Which, like I said, I haven't read the book, but it's an interesting concept in talking about. Yeah, so that, I mean, that's just one of the people that I really look to see.
What's that? What's his name?
Jocko Willink.
Jocko Willing?
Mm-hmm. Willink.
Willink.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he's got a podcast on Spotify
see,
I
like
listen
that.
to
I'll
all
have
the time.
To check that out.
Yeah.
Send me, or text message me. I think maybe you already. No, I don't know if you sent me that one.
I'll send you the book, and I'll send you the link for his
send me that
podcast.
Oh, another question.
No, keep going.
There was this other guy that I follow. His name's Brad Lee, and he's also like a motivational speaker. Like, he ran some like an AI for like marketing.
Okay.
Like, that's what he saw, is he made this stuff, and then he went out and like he'd sell it to people. Like, go to a car dealership and say, hey, listen, this is a system, a sell system for you guys, right? That's proven. And that's what he did. So he created this sell system, and he sells it to people, and they buy it, whatever. He's very successful. But a couple things that, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with 100%, right. But he was talking about his wife, and they were all talking about money. And, one guy's like, yeah, I have to kind of save my money. My wife wants to do things, we can't always do it. And then he's like, he kind of said something. He's like, he's like, I was in a point in my life where I thought that way, where I thought, oh, I can't get my wife what she wants because we can't afford it or whatever. And he's like, or it's not your wife's fault that it's not a spending issue. He said it's not a spending problem. Told the kid that. It's your fault because you're not earning enough. He's like, he's what he said. He's like, if you marry a woman, the right woman, she's never going to take more. She's never going to put your marriage in a situation where she's spending to a point where it's a problem. Right. But you as a man, that should never be an issue. If you've picked the right person to partner up with, the problem, if you're the man,
it's your provision.
You have an earning issue.
Dang.
And I thought, dude, when he said it straight up, he's like, you have an earning problem. I thought, okay, that doesn't always work for everybody, right? But at the same time, it's like, shoot, if I'm an entrepreneur, and that's the type of lifestyle I want for myself and my family,
right?
Well, there's good things and bad things, right? It gives me a lot of open time. What am I doing with it, though?
Right.
Am I using it to work more?
Are you getting those extra days off because it's your time, or are you working more?
Right. And so more often than not, it's the other. It's just taking time off.
Yeah.
And so then when, Amber's like, hey, can I, get my nails done in addition to whatever, right? Which, whatever, let's say hair costs $150 and she wants to get her nails done, it's another $80. Like, a lot of people be like, oh, that's a lot, $230. Well, yeah, but the problem is with me. I know that I'm not doing the best that I can in my business. I know that. Like, I know that I'm not working enough.
Right.
And so, like, how dare I, like, look at her and be like, you're asking too much. No. The honest truth is, if I was working my butt off, my ass off, and putting in tons of hours,
You wouldn't have had to think about it.
I wouldn't even have to, because we would have it.
Right.
Right? And if the question did come up, I wouldn't question myself. I'd be like, wow, we can't right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If we were still just building in that few months of, like, working really hard, we got to put, I understand where you're coming from. We got to get to that. I know I want to do a lot of things, but we can't.
Yeah.
We got to wait. From that perspective, sure. But once we've gotten to that level where it won't be an issue, because there won't be an issue.
Right.
You know, so, like, that's what I really liked with him, how he spoke about that like that. And a lot of those things come from people that are in sales, because sales is something you can just sell really fast and make a lot of money, but you have to put the work in. And
Right.
you know, that's where my struggle is. I'll do it for a month and then slow down. I'll do it for
Right.
2 months and slow down. I'm lacking the discipline, and that's right now is like on my journey. Discipline is the biggest thing for me.
Right. 'Cause
Like,
the freedom is a double-edged sword. Like you have so much more potential than you would at a normal 9 to 5. But that means, yeah, it requires so much of you intrinsically, more than just clocking in and clocking out, and you got the same paycheck every time. It's completely dependent upon, yeah, your discipline and commitment.
right.
Like that's
Well, the other thing too is, so my biological dad just had, like, a few weeks ago, he had a pulmonary embolism.
oh man.
I mean, thank God I had a little bit of money saved. I could fly. I'm going to, like, in a week or two, I'm flying back out here to go visit my dad for a few days, right? Because
Okay.
he doesn't really have anybody. But I thought, I mean, it's nice to take time off, like, but when you have a family member that's close like that, you know, a parent, and then they have a medical emergency, and now because you don't work, like, because you're not, like, for me, I'm not working enough to make enough money to where a plane ticket should just be a
It's
non-issue.
nothing yet. Like,
Oh yeah, Dad, you had a heart attack, or shoot, I'm on the next flight. But instead, that wasn't my first thought. My first thought was, okay, when's my next paycheck coming in? Like, all of a sudden now I'm in sales mode. All right, I got to go out and boom. I'm like, had I been disciplined,
if you had been in that mindset the whole time, you would have been on the
it would
next
have
flight.
been easy.
Yeah.
Like, I would have left, like, gone, like, you know what I mean? Not
Right.
wait 3 weeks and, like, oh, Dad, I'm visiting you. Like,
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, he's fine. They've got it under control, but still, it's like, those are also the reasons why discipline, and then obviously having monetary, that advantage monetarily is that you can go do things with your family, or emergencies occur, you can take care of that.
Right.
You're not going to feel, because that's the last thing. I'll feel guilty if he had passed away. That would haunt me. Be like, wow, as a man, you couldn't take care of your shit and be disciplined and work,
Right.
and now you couldn't go see your dad.
Right. If I had had this attitude a month ago, 2 months ago, then it already would have been
Literally,
there.
it didn't even have to be a year. It had a year thing. It could have just been,
Right.
if I would have started this discipline this day one a month ago.
Right. Exactly.
So
Man.
it's just, I think as we get older, like, because I'm 41, well, tomorrow, like, we're getting to that age, like you two, like, where, you know, that generation, like your grandparents, I don't have any grandparents. You have no grandparents left.
Right.
The next generation's our parents. Like, that's how I think, like, you know,
Dang.
because now my parents are having help. Like, my stepdad had a heart attack,
Right.
and now my biological dad had this pulmonary embolism. It gets me to start thinking, like, shoot, I need to get my butt in gear, right?
Right. I'm quickly becoming the elders that I've been looking towards.
So for me, there's another guy I follow too. His name's Gary Vee.
Okay.
I like him because he doesn't even care. He don't care if you're 40 or 50. You're never too old to start.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's so right. Like, I don't ever, like, I used to get down, like, oh my gosh, I'm in my mid 30s.
Right.
I'm in my late 30s. Now I'm 40. Oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Like, no, that it's okay. Like, you can start. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're 30, 20, 50, you know, as long as you're still alive and you're healthy, like, you have time. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. You can't start too late. You can only quit too soon.
Right. You know what I mean? And that's the mentality. Like, as you get older, you think, oh, I'm too old to do this.
Right.
Well, that's the trap.
Yeah.
That's the trap, right? That's whatever your belief is. That's the enemy. That's the soul killer.
Right.
Is, oh, you know, you're running out of time. Like,
Yeah. Just
you,
get comfortable where you are now, because
Right.
this is it. Yeah. Oh. So what are this one's kind of a tough way to word. So what are some habits that you have that you would like to stop, or a habit that you've been wanting to start that you just can't seem to get the traction in, that you feel like would, on this odyssey would propel you closer to that man you're trying to be?
Okay, so habits I want to kick, right?
Yeah.
I think my phone is a good thing to have with business. I think it's a good thing to have to connect me to my kids, because our kids have phones now and I can text them, and that's great.
Yeah.
But, I download games and I'll spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour.
Yeah.
And it's just not productive. It's just not productive.
Right.
And so those are things that I want to kick, and it should just be easy, And there is those things I think I can do it. I've done it before. Other things would be staying up too late, like proper sleep,
Yeah.
like putting myself on a regimen, like, okay, fine, you get 6 hours, but that's it. If you go to bed or whatever
Right.
the amount of time is, like, okay, well, if you decide to go to bed at 10, then you got to get up at 4, right? But that's my deal with myself. I have to be up. I'm going to try and get up before 6 a.m. every morning, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I can't, if I go to bed at 1 a.m., I still have to get up at 6.
Right.
Like, I don't, like, that's the rule with myself, And so that's another area that I really need to kick the habit of just going to sleep at whatever time.
Right.
Like, there's no time. Like, no, I need to have structure. Like, if I'm wanting to be disciplined, in every area I have to be disciplined. Like, okay, I got to go to bed at 11 and be up at 5.
Right.
And then get up at 5, hydrate, do some type of 30-minute workout hour or whatever. Just some baby step, right?
Right.
Baby steps. Just,
Baby step to the door.
what was that movie? What was that?
What About Bob?
Bob?
One of
Oh
my
my
favorites.
gosh, that's... Remember holding the book up?
Mm-hmm.
So, eating, I think... I don't eat right.
Yeah.
I don't eat right. Like, I'm not even gonna try and sugarcoat it. Like I drink a 6-pack of Diet Coke a day.
Oh man.
Not every day,
Right.
but I can if we have it.
Yeah.
And I try to tell myself it's okay, because I'll drink water at night. I'll drink about 48 ounces of water, like 60 ounces.
Just get your day's worth
before
at the
I
end.
go to sleep, right? Yeah. Just not eating at set times.
Right.
It's just all justification. Like, I'm not gonna eat breakfast. I'm gonna intermittent fast. That's just an excuse to get around not wanting to actually change my eating habits, like what I put in my body.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, if I eliminate breakfast, that's extra calories that I now have. Instead of cutting out fries for lunch, I didn't eat breakfast, so
now
I can have my French
I can have
fries.
French fries. Yeah.
It's nothing a substitute for something healthier. It's a
Right.
substitute to it's a worse food to eat, like
Right.
that makes you feel sluggish.
Yeah.
So I think sleep, eating, and what was the other thing?
Your phone time.
My phone time.
Yeah.
I think those 3 things right there. If I could pinpoint those 3 and just change those
Yeah.
and put like, just get rid of the games, get to bed at a certain time every night, get up by 6 a.m., and then eat healthier.
Yeah.
If I just changed those 3 things, my whole life would change.
Right. You'd have so much more time and energy to put into the other things.
My mind would be my mindset would be completely in a different, I wouldn't even know what to do. I can't even remember the last time, like, even growing up, I was in excellent shape. I played basketball, but I ate like crap. But you wouldn't know it.
But you worked out so much,
But
you were
I
exercising so much, you
just,
wouldn't know.
oh, wow, Jay, you look healthy. No, I'm just young, and I'm just shed the calories like crazy. But the
Yeah.
food I was eating was still bad. It was
Right.
all fast food. I'm surprised, honestly, I haven't had a heart attack or have some type of diabetes. Like, I just, God's blessed me, I guess, with, it's kind of like Donald Trump. That dude is like 77 years old, and he eats McDonald's like every single day. I mean, he doesn't look super healthy, but I mean, if you talk to the guy, he sounds like he's like,
Better off than some, yeah.
I mean, but I think those things, and I'm not just saying that for myself, I'm just from getting people on those other podcasts, listening to other men, those are the denominators, like turning your phone off at certain times,
Right.
Getting to sleep, eating right. So if everyone's saying it, these people that are successful and are where they want to be,
Right.
that's a common denominator.
Worth trying, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I have such a hard time with that with the phones because for a while I had like deleted all social media. I deleted there's games on there for the kids, but I deleted all the games that I was playing, and that helped. And then I went to delete social media, but I have an account for this business with my dad, and I have an account for the drone work stuff, and you have to have a personal account if you're going to have a professional account. And so they're there, and just the fact that they're there, it still turns into some total time sink that I didn't even need.
A rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, especially at night. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I've heard it so many times, like, an hour before bed, or don't bring your phone into the bedroom at all. It's like, well, that's my alarm clock, so I have to bring it in. And then, I'm going to go to bed at 9:30, and I go to plug my phone in and set it down, like, oh, well, I'll check this one more time. Look at that notification. I got to clear it out, and it just gets me every time.
It's I don't know. I think social media it's a double-edged sword.
Right, because like I said, there's those people on there
Dude.
that really inspire you to be that
Yeah.
person, but then there's all the other things that hold you back from being that person.
I mean, I've met some really cool people on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, I really have, like, a couple guys that I've never even met,
Yeah.
and we're going to be going golfing,
Nice.
like, at some point this year in September, I think, or next year, because September already passed. Drawing a blank. You guys don't have my teleprompter.
It's not in the budget yet, but
Joe
So have you-
Joe Biden.
yeah,
Freaking,
have you found any or implemented any new habits that are helping you, or you're kind of? I mean, I've been in the planning phase of making those changes for too long, really.
I'm in the same boat you are. I'm like half, like when you get in the pool and you're putting your foot in
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, it's cold. It's too cold. I don't want to, I don't know. So you kind of feel the water. You kind of test out the waters. And I do that. Like some mornings
Yeah.
I'll get up early. Well, I get up early every morning because I got to take care of the kids, like get their lunches made and all that stuff and get them to school. But it's the decision after that, like when I get home. How easy is it? The kids are in school. I don't work for nobody.
Right.
I'm tired. Like I stayed up till 2 in the morning, binge watching some stupid show I never should have been watching in the first place, right? So that's
Right.
the bad habit.
Yeah.
That's the bad habit. Not by itself was it that bad, but now you didn't get any sleep because now you went up at 2, got up at 6 because you got to. Hey, I'm not a horrible dad. I get up and take care of my kids, but they don't see the other part of the dad that I am, the area that I'm lacking as a father, right?
Right.
Is that self-motivation part.
Right.
Because now it's 6 a.m. and I'm tired. I only got 4 hours of sleep. And really, I probably got less because I was tossing and turning,
Right.
stressing and worrying about things, right? And then I get home from dropping them off, and the first thing I want to do is honestly go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
Right.
And once I do it, I go back to bed at 8 a.m., and then it's 11 a.m.
Right. So not only does your bad habit take away the time that you spent on it, but now it robs you of your future time
Oh.
because you don't have the energy to do the things that you told yourself when you went to sleep. I'm going to do this tomorrow.
And it compounds.
Yeah.
Because not only did you not do the things like you were wanting to do, now it's in your mind.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh man, dang it.
In the
now
cycle.
it's right. Because and then what happens is it's now 11. We get out of the house, and instead of going to eat somewhere healthy, McDonald's.
You don't have time.
We don't have time, and it's an excuse. Really, that
Yep.
I mean, we do have time. Like, we could go to Walmart and just grab some fresh fruit and vegetables, and like really, you could do that.
Right.
We don't, and so now I'm eating like a McChicken and fries and a diet soda, and I feel horrible.
And then you get to the end of the day again, you're like, dang
Dude,
it.
like, what did I do here? Yeah, I went out and worked for 3 hours. Wow, that's great. You know, I could have gotten so many more hours in,
Yeah.
but I didn't. And and it's just a cycle.
Yeah.
And it has to be broken. And for me, it's sleep. That's where it starts. Like getting to bed at the proper time.
Yeah.
Everyone's different, but but you're right. It's the compounding
Yeah.
is what really does it. And for men, it's hard because sometimes you don't even see it.
Right.
You
and
know
then,
what I mean?
yeah, you're 6 months down the road from when you thought was going to be your day one. And you're like, man, I don't even know where that all went.
Right.
But you just don't want to admit where it all went. And there's this expression that I'm sure is more common, but didn't learn about it until I was, preparing like podcast episodes and stuff. And there's this expression, paralysis by analysis, and using your preparation time becomes an excuse to not act. And I've wanted to start this podcast for 2 years, and I've been making notes and doing research, and I've got this YouTube playlist that I'm learning from and following all these steps. And I'm like, okay, well, when I finally hit the ground running, I'm gonna have it perfect, because I'm spending all this time, when really, like, well, if I had started a year and a half ago, where could it be by now? And these little things that I picked up in my preparation stages, you would have learned along the way, but I was using it as a crutch. Like, oh no, I'm not ready. I got to do this, this, and this. And it's just like, and you tell yourself that you're doing something good. Like, oh, I'm watching these fitness videos so that when I start going to the gym, I'm ready to go. And I'm watching these nutrition influencers so that I know what to do, instead of just starting.
Do it.
Yeah.
Right.
And man, I felt so convicted when I heard that paralysis by analysis. Like, that is me, like, to a T, because I actually love research and looking stuff up, and I love learning. So I would just keep telling myself, like, I'm going to be ready to go. I'm doing so good. I'm doing nothing. But it's just replacing. It's not wasting time, because I'm learning, but it's still keeping you from doing the positive thing that your bad habits
Like, what's
were doing.
the point of learning something if you're not going to implement it? If you're not going to apply it or implement it, then it's really just, it's knowledge, which is knowledge is by itself isn't a bad
wasted
thing,
space.
but it's just knowledge for what, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just for yourself.
Right.
Like, that knowledge, like, you could struggle, because I know you had ankle problems, right? You have surgeries and all that stuff, right? You see people online, and they're freaking running with one leg.
Right.
There's people lifting freaking bricklayers with no hands.
Yeah.
Like, I see those people, and then that's what gets me too. It's like, dude, like, there's no excuses. Like, there isn't. When you see people like that have disabilities, and they're smoking you. Yeah. Like, you literally, yes, your ankle, not to take that away, but like, for someone like me, I really have no physical ailments as like far as like, okay, I get sore. Right. I'm getting older. I'm out of shape. Right. But there's no reason for me to not be in shape. Mm-hmm. There is none. Zero. Like, there's no excuse. It's just,
it's 100% my choices.
It's me.
Yeah.
The excuse, I guess, would be, I'm not the person I need to be to get to that point, And like that saying is, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And that is the truth with anything in life. If it was easy, then if getting a six-pack was easy, then everybody would have it, right? So I think the other thing, too, is you have 2 girls. 3?
3.
I have 2 girls. Mm-hmm. My son, that's 14. What starts to get to me from a financial standpoint is, hey, Dad, like, because he's going to get his driver's license in a couple years. Yeah. Oh, what kind of car am I going to get? I'm thinking, I got time to figure that out. I got time to save the money for that.
Right. Couldn't get you one now, but don't worry. By the time you get there, I'll have it.
And so I walk by my oldest girl's bedroom, and Charlie and Tatum, they're talking about just weddings.
Oh man.
Just talking about, just not, they're innocent, just
right.
But I thought, walk by there, I'm like, whoa. Like, when my daughter comes to me and asks me, like, for help, like, to help pay for the wedding, right? What kind of man am I going to be? Right. What kind of father am I going to be? Am I going to be the person that's like, within reason, yeah, whatever you want, right? Or, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't have any of my stuff together, that I couldn't even save enough money for your guys' weddings.
Right. But as a man, that's such a hard line, because you always want to be like, yes, whatever it is, I got you. But then you still have to balance that, like, because you could go work more. But if all you do is go work more, you might be able to afford whatever you want, but how much are they going to want you there? Like, because they don't know you. So that's my struggle. Like, I mean, there's no question I should have been working harder, working more, and earning more, like you're saying, like, for a long time now. But as a man, like, when you're making those choices, it's not so black and white. Like, oh, well, I should have done this. Like, well, you have to figure out, like, when I should have worked more and when I should have slowed down, so that you build the relationship, not just the finances. And it's just this constant back and forth.
So everyone's different in that realm. Like, so when I speak that way, I'm not speaking from a place of like, this is how all men should be.
Right.
It comes from my experience of, I 100% agree with you, right? I'm there for my kids in all areas when
Right.
it comes to games, practices, whatever. But when I know that at the time that I have when I'm not with them, that should be used for
That's true.
generating
Right.
wealth or generating income, when I'm not doing that, that's when that moment comes when it's in my mind.
Yeah, and those are
Like,
the days you're going
it's
to remember.
already
I could've
right now.
done
My
that.
girls aren't going to get married probably for another 8, 10, 12 years, 15 years, who knows, right?
Right.
But it weighs heavy on me.
Yeah.
Like that's a fear, legit. I know it's crazy, but it's like, am I going to be able to tell? Am I literally going to tell her I can't help her?
Right.
And that breaks my heart because I'm like, shoot, if I had been doing everything I could and working hard, and God bless people that like, there's people that like work 2 full-time jobs. They like, they're dishwashers or they're cooks, and they'll work 80 hours a week, right?
Right.
Hey, they're doing everything they possibly can and working, right? They're being a man and taking care of business.
Right.
Yeah, maybe their resources from that job, they're not able to pay for like a full-blown wedding. But
they've done everything
they've
they
done everything
possibly
they
could
could,
to
right?
get there. Yeah.
See, what gets me is I have with insurance, I know the upside.
Right.
I know what I'm capable of,
Right.
and I choose less. And it makes me sad because I feel like I was being selfish during that time when I was supposed to be saving and working, and I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And they don't see it. You know,
Right.
Dad's awesome. He comes to all our things. Like, he's there for everything.
Yeah.
But inside me, like, dude, I'm not doing as much as I should be as far as working.
Yeah.
You know, so everyone's different in that. It's just, yeah, because there's got to be a balance, right? Like, what's the point if you're working so much that you don't see your family?
But when you work for yourself, like you're saying, it's hard not to be able to identify those times. Like, oh, well, I absolutely know I could have done more. Like,
Right. I know where those are. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm being honest with myself. Like, okay, but it's someone that has a job where they work for someone where they're working like 8 to 5 or 8 to 6, right?
yeah.
Well, like, you don't really have a lot of time to like work more.
Right.
Because if you did, then you'd be that provider,
Right.
And that good dad that way.
Yeah, because your option is, okay, we'll go get a job on the weekends.
Right.
And then you have zero time with
And then
your
your
kids.
kids, the complaint isn't going to be like, oh, he didn't provide certain things. The complaint, and it's a valid one, is he wasn't around.
Right.
And by far, though, I'd rather take the complaint that I couldn't give them a lot. I was there all the time.
Yep.
But I know that I can do both.
You can have both.
I
yeah.
know I can do that. Not everyone in that is that same way,
Right.
you know. But for me, I know that, and because I see other people that do it.
Right.
That's also another thing.
in your same position, and there's no reason that you
Yeah.
couldn't do what they're doing.
It's true. I mean, I think that's the thing. You just have to call out your own bullshit. You just have to. Like, everyone's odyssey is different, right? And
Right.
you need to figure out, okay, in what area you know for a fact that you could do better in, and you're just not doing it.
Right.
Right.
Where am I going in circles when I could be headed up? Like,
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, and I think we actually kind of touched on this, tangentially a little bit, but specifically, is there any advice or like a scripture or a quote that you've had either growing up or more recently that's kind of stuck with you and shifts your perspective or holds you on track to where you want to be, like something almost like a mantra that like every time you start to waver, something plays in your head like that brings you back to where you need to be?
Man, that's a tough one. That is really tough because I haven't given up,
Yeah.
but pinpointing why I haven't is hard. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're asking me to
I know what you mean. Yeah.
is trying to fit what is it that keeps making me come back, right?
Yeah.
I hit a roadblock, I hit this, I hit that. I think what I don't know who it was, and it stuck in my mind just a few days ago. This lady that I'm friends with, I don't even know who she was. We just, you connect with people on Facebook. I don't even know. She's somewhere locally where I live. And she said, man, it's been really, I never seem to catch a break. Lord, I never seem to catch a break. And a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah.
But then someone commented under there, but you know where you're going, right? Like, because they're Christians, like they
Yeah.
have I have a faith, and that guy just said, but you know where you're going though.
Right.
And I thought, that's right. Like, no matter how bad things are out of my control, or how bad I think it is here sometimes, or how hard it is to a provider, or this world sucks, like, I have the joy of knowing that when my body at some point does just fail me, my soul's going to a place that's so much better than here.
Right.
But it's so easy to think that way and then just do the minimum.
Right.
But to me, it's like, I look at it like, man, I was given an opportunity, like, after we leave here to go to this awesome place.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's a reason why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not
Right.
just to be an idiot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's purpose for me anyways, right? And so I think that's what always gets me to come back to the table.
Yeah.
Okay, God has me alive today, so I don't know why. I
It's
mean, honestly,
not an
like
accident.
I'm being honest with you, I feel that way for the longest time. We're very what do they call that when it's like
Nihilistic.
self-deprivation? Yeah, it's like there's so many other people out there, Lord, that's like way better than me. Like and they're being taken. Like they're so much more net positive.
What am I doing here?
Like, I feel like I just hurt people. I feel like I, like a lot, very in my past, a lot of trauma, a lot of things, and I've hurt a lot of people, right? I've been hurt, and then from that, I've hurt other people. And that was one thing where my faith was tested. Like, where are you? Like, trauma when I was a young child, out of my control, things happened to me.
Right.
You know, how is this? I don't understand this guy. How does this make any sense?
Right.
Like, seriously, like, how do you let that happen to a child? Adults are one thing. It's still traumatic for people when you're an adult, but you're an adult. Your mind is grown. It's pretty much fully matured.
Right.
And you can probably go and get therapy and work through it. But as a child, man, you don't tell anybody when things happen.
Yeah.
And then your mind just gets twisted and twisted and twisted. And for me, I don't know, by the grace of God, I think him giving me my wife and my children, like, and like a lot of things that he did, I probably could be in jail for. Like, and I'm not proud of it, but that's another thing. Like, that's why I asked that. Like, there's a lot of other people out there, God. Like, why do you take them? Like they'll be able to do so much more. Like, why are you giving me these blessings, even though I don't deserve any of them?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. And I think that's another thing that keeps me coming back is he has me here for a reason. And I have 4 kids and a wife. There's a couple reasons right there.
Right. Yeah.
That probably the most important reasons,
Yeah.
right? There's other things that I think God has for me, and I see it. I see myself.
Right.
Okay. And I'm just not there.
Yeah.
So I think just knowing that better version's out there always keeps me coming back. You know what I
Right.
mean? It keeps me, you know.
Yeah. Thank God that he gave you another day to try and get to that guy.
Right, like, I don't mean to go off tangent, like, and we could probably talk for hours, but, you know, when you see men, and it's a touchy subject, like, you know, just suicide.
Yeah.
Men that just, whatever reason, it's the end of the rope for them, right? Like, I used to think those, and this is how, honestly, even me having mental health, you know, I thought they were so selfish.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, how could you do that? Like, you think you're miserable, you think that you're helping yourself relieve that pain,
Yeah.
but are you thinking about, like, that same thing you're going through, you could possibly give that to your children or your wife.
Right.
Because now they're going to go
giving them that trauma that.
right? And
Yeah.
but you know, at the end of the day, though, I thought, who am I, like, to judge someone like that?
Right.
Because if they got to that point with a wife and kids, like, oh my God, like, that's sad that they would,
Right.
that's how far it got. Like, that they felt really that was the only way.
That they thought, like, because what they think they're doing is selfless. I've been probably to, 5 or 6 funerals now just from suicides, and
Oh my gosh, man.
yeah, like, the thought is that you have so little to offer. Like, just go now. Don't give them an option to try and save you. Don't make them hope that you're going to get better. Just check out now, let them grieve and move on. And, 10 years from now, they'll be better off without me. And it's such an easy lie to get sucked into, whether it be like from trauma or just, struggling, not reaching the success that you thought, or, my unit that I was with in Germany had something like, I think, three combat deployments with no combat deaths. But in one weekend, I went to 4 funerals for suicides that happened on base.
That is insane.
And there's, I was just listening to a podcast recently, about roughly 6,000 combat deaths in the post 9/11 era for U.S. military, and anywhere from 60 to 100,000 suicides.
I did not know that number.
And it's like I get chills.
You're saying hundreds of thousands?
Over 100,000 of suicides.
So you're saying the self-inflicted outnumbers the loss in combat.
Yeah, and that's what the lady on the interview was saying. Like, the enemy can't touch us. 6,000 over 20 years. Those are unheard of like success rates when it comes to combat. You're talking about 90% survival rates in combat. People get their face shot off, and they survive because of medical advances, and we can take care of. But how do you deal with the mental trauma, or how you're handling your physical issues, or your family dynamic from being gone so long? That's what's taking people out, and they feel like, well, all I know is war. Now I'm done with that part of my life, and you get so sucked into this identity as a soldier. Like, okay, well, if I'm not a soldier anymore, then I'm not me anymore. And so I'm going to go and let this family, who I wish I knew more, but I don't, I'm going to let them move on. I'm not saying it's right, that there's so many opportunities to intervene and to change that. But yeah, and I know I'm going off topic here, but it's like you're saying, like, they think they're being selfless. And I think, they are in their own way. Like, they're trying to help in the only way that they think they can.
Right.
Man, I don't even remember why we got onto that, but
I don't remember, but I think because we're talking about being men, I think that whole taking on that burden of everything in our lives, right? Like, like when we need to pay rent, we struggle to, how are we going to get rent?
Right.
And, yeah, and my wife, she stresses, but like I try to be calm. But
right.
Inside, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't. She's already worrying.
Yeah, your panic needs to be internalized.
If I outwardly do that, it's gonna be chaotic.
Yeah.
So, like, because I used to think it was selfish when men would do that, but now really looking at my life and seeing how difficult it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand. Like, I don't condone. I'm not saying it's
right.
okay. I just, man, it must. That's how bad it was for you inside.
Right.
That you thought really this was the answer.
Yeah.
So I think these podcasts are good to like really get to talk to other people, because there's a lot more people struggling like than to have it together, right? So like it's nice to know, like, I would tell, whoever's listening, like, I would tell you, like, yeah, I'm not where I want to be, and I'm not happy with myself all the time, but I know that I need to get better and have that mindset every single day. And maybe it won't be tomorrow. Maybe I'll have a good day tomorrow. Maybe I will get up and ride the bike.
Right.
I'll have good stretches, 2-3 months. I'll lose like 35 pounds, and then I'll go back. I'll slip back and get back into old Jay. But everyone struggles. Don't think that you're the only one that's carrying that burden. Like, oh, I'm not making enough. My wife doesn't think I'm doing enough. My kids don't think I'm going to their games enough, spending enough time with them, playing with them. Like, dude, we all have the same issues.
Right.
So just got to make sure that you're, like you said, like, shifting back.
Yeah.
Getting back to the table. We've messed up over here. We need to come back to the drawing board and figure out, like, we need to get this thing back on track,
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying about that. So I don't know. I think for me, having a purpose is what kind of brings me back.
Right.
Because if I didn't have a purpose, I would tell you that if I really believed that I didn't have a purpose, like there was nothing, like I had no purpose with the things that happened to me,
Yeah, if
I,
you
would,
were
I wouldn't
anchored
be
in
here.
that-
I wouldn't be 100%.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. I already know I would. There would be no point.
Right. It wouldn't feel like it was worth it to hang
Yeah,
around.
why? Why do I want to be, like, why would I want to have all the things that happen in my life affect me that way, and then I hurt other people, and just have that be a wheel?
Right.
For what?
Yeah.
Why would I? So I understand though, but I know that God has a purpose,
Right.
and so that's what
That hope is so
it's
important.
there, right?
Yeah.
And I think as long as I have a pulse,
Right. Then
like,
there's a
okay,
reason
well,
to keep
God,
pushing.
That's like
Yeah.
people say that, but it's true. Like God's keeping your heart beating. The only thing that's keeping your heart beating is God.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like whatever. People have heart attacks or they get killed in a car accident or whatever. Like whatever. That was God's control. Like He allows those things to happen, right? So all I know is if I'm awake, then I need to be mindful of my purpose.
Right. You better do something with it.
So.
So, and we said you've been
Hold on, I gotta light this again.
okay. That's awesome.
Oh man, it's not. There we go. I guess it's good enough. Anyway, side note, real quick.
So yeah.
You don't have to keep this in there. Whenever I see one of these blowtorches, this was years ago. I watched a horror movie
Yeah.
where you can cut this out of the podcast. Like literally, like they were torturing someone and they torched the person's eyeball, like with that thing. So every time I see it, like I'm kind of dark, like I know it's a cigar, but like
Yes, it plays in your head every
yeah,
time.
like ah. Anyways, sorry. Thing's freaking cool though.
Oh man,
Torture device.
it's versatile.
Yeah, your dad was so quick. I'm like, honey, like, so I have one.
I got a blowtorch.
Yeah. I'm like, he's like, I'll be right back. It's in my room, special room.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's in my soundproof basement.
You have a basement? Two of them.
You'll see it someday.
Yeah, right.
I may be off, but your anniversary is in November, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it was right before I left
Yep.
for the Army. So you're coming up on 16 years of marriage.
Yep.
You got 4 kids. And I might have an idea of where this is going anyways, but I want to ask, like, how did you know that you were ready for marriage and then ready to be a father, and then once you make those choices, there's really no going back. So then, I'm not saying that you would regret it. This is the best choices you can possibly make. But what's the hardest aspect? And I think we've kind of touched on this too. Like when it comes to being a husband and a father, what's something that like really words can't prepare you for? So even if someone did take the time to like, hey, watch out for this, you get there and you're like, holy crap, my plate has more than it can hold. So how do you know when you're ready? And then
So I can only, I don't know. I can only speak to like the experience of getting married,
right,
having kids, like 100%. There's no reason for me to lie. Like I was not ready.
yeah,
I was not prepared. I should have never have gotten married. And in fact, even when I got married, we shouldn't have had kids because I was in no position as a man, as a human being, to like take care of anybody else because I wasn't even taking care of myself. So, for me, like it was a God's, like I slowly look at it like this, like your sister is an absolute, she's like the best person that I've ever met.
yeah,
Like she thinks she's right all the time. If there's one thing that I could like, she thinks she's right 100% of the time.
when it's really 90 or
Right, but we're talking about like if we're talking about a fault with someone, that's it. Like I literally will have arguments like you'll get in fight, but at the end of the day I'm like shoot, like that's it. Like that's what frustrates me.
yeah,
Like we have an argument and she'll just fight till the end that she's right, but that's it. It's not like she has a drinking problem or she yells or she's not there or she doesn't, doesn't ever clean, doesn't cook. Like it's none of
she does all the things.
She does everything. And I really feel like for me, like it's hard to answer that, and there will be other people that may be able to. Like it was a gift that I didn't deserve. Your sister was a gift I didn't deserve, and the children was also blessings and a gift that I didn't deserve. So I wasn't ready for that. I'd say right now, I would even tell you right now with all the experience I have, if she was pregnant,
Not ready.
I still don't think I'd be ready. I think that with my experience, it'd be a lot better of an experience
Right.
for both of us. I'd be present 100%, a lot more. You know the saying where like, man, like when your parents, the way they are with their grandkids is the complete opposite the way they were with you.
Right.
It does come from like they're not your kids or your grandchildren, right? But it comes from like they've lived a longer life. They see things differently. Like so now for me, like if we had another child, man, I'd be so present.
Yeah.
I'd be there with that throughout pregnancy with Amber. Like it would be a lot more intimate because the value that I see now with having kids.
Because now you know how fast it goes, or
Yeah, I mean, you know when they say, "Oh, you wish you could go back in time." I wish I could go back in time, and the only thing I wish I could change, honestly, even though I wasn't prepared for any of the being married kids, is just take my selfishness away. That's it.
yeah.
I wouldn't want anything else. I would rather just, because I know it was a blessing and gift, and just go back and be like, be present, be there for her, and I wasn't. You know, and so I'm like the worst person to ask. Like, when do you think you were? No, I wasn't ready. I don't think anybody is. I think anyone that honestly tells you, oh, I'm ready to be a father. No, I don't.
It's 'cause
whatever.
they don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I would never tell someone that to face, but I mean, just talking now, like, no, I don't believe you.
That's kind of
Like-
actually why I was asking. Is like because you're not. Like, how do you know when you're ready? Like, you can only find out later that you never were ready.
Right. Yeah. Right. And you realize every day, like, oh shoot, maybe I shouldn't have yelled. Like, can't yell at my boys. I can't yell at my girls the way I yell at my boys.
Right.
And like, you know, because I'll get upset when they don't listen. I'll tell them 3 or 4 times, put that down, stop fighting. And then they hear me, and then they don't listen, and so then I have to get into like, I go to another level.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like, and like get up, and these are young girls.
Right.
Like, I'm a grown man. Like, I'm their father, and I need the respect because I'm respectful of them. Like, I asked them 3 or 4 times in a nice way not to do. You need to either do this or don't do this.
Yeah.
But it's those areas that I still, as a father, okay, they're my girls, and I have to be soft,
Right.
right? Because I don't want them thinking that the way that I yell, it's okay.
Right. Because you don't want it wouldn't be okay if their husband did that.
Right, and so
Yeah.
like that's a learning curve. I don't
Right.
have that together. There's a lot of people that don't. Like, I mean,
Right.
there are some dads that are excellent that way, right? So like it's a fine balance. Like, I don't give in to everything they want,
Right.
but I also, there's no need to like berate them.
Yeah, and at times
know?
you'll give them things that maybe they don't deserve, and so it kind of comes full circle. Like, thank God, he didn't give me the wife and kids that I deserve, because my wife is so much better than I could ever deserve.
Oh.
My kids are so much better than I deserve to have. Like, so thank you, God, for giving me things I don't deserve and things I wasn't ready for, because what I'm ready for is so much smaller than what God has to give me. So like, just lay it on me, and we'll figure it out.
Well, it's true, and I think it's one of those things where that's the one thing that's difficult watching different people on podcasts is like they take control of yourself. It's all on you. Like, you need to make the right decisions, right? You have the power to change, but at the same time, it's like back in the day when I was like, I shouldn't have been given that person.
Right.
Like, these kids should not be my kid. Like, I shouldn't. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, why was I given these things? Like, but God doesn't work that way.
Right.
We don't really know. We don't really fully understand like why he does what he does, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just know that he knows more than we do.
Right.
So that's another reason too why we can't never give up. Like,
Right.
why we can't stop trying to be that better version, because he's given us things that we don't deserve, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be grateful. Not only grateful, but then do something about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like when I yell at my girl or I yell at my sons and I go too far, I need to recognize that. God
Right.
gave me those blessings. Like, no, I have a right to discipline them,
Right.
and maybe I'm okay getting upset because they're not. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't want my kids thinking that that's normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then if they meet a boy and he is like a yeller, or he comes from a household that's full of anger,
Right.
they're not gonna think maybe it's not. Oh, my dad yelled a lot, so
Right. You want to make sure that they see the contrast. Like,
right, like, you
Yeah.
know. So, and that's another thing. Like, I want my daughters to be like, I want to marry someone like my dad.
Right. What an honor that is if they feel that way. Yeah.
You don't want it the other way. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the worst thing. That means you failed. Like,
Right.
I don't want to marry someone like my dad. Oh, dude, that would break my heart.
Right. Not only am I a bad dad, I'm just a bad man.
Right. Exactly. Right. And if you're also a bad dad, probably not a very good husband.
Exactly.
Like, vice versa, right?
Because if they don't want to marry someone like you, then why would your wife want to be married to someone like you? But she already is, so you better fix it.
And then they're going to resent their mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to resent their mom if you're that bad.
And that's on you.
That is on you. You know what I mean? Like, how could you stay with them for all that? Like, how could you just put up with that? Like, you know? So as men, it all starts with us.
Yep.
You know?
Have you seen the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a part towards the end that just kind of lives rent-free in my head, and there's this huge battle that plays out, and, you know, spoiler alert, Tom Hanks's character is dying, and he looks at the guy that it's, you know, Private Ryan, the guy that it's all for, that so many guys died trying to get to him, and now there's this battle going on just to save him, to get him home. And this scene, Tom Hanks looks up at him in his dying moments, and he looks at him, he says, earn this. Like, everything that's been done for you, like, I don't know, it gives me goosebumps, like this calling, like, earn this. And then it flashes forward to when he's older and he's at, you know, Tom Hanks's character, he's at that gravesite, and he's telling him, like, I hope I earned it. And that's kind of how I feel, is this, like, constant reminder, like, when you look around and I see, like, my wife that I had been praying for since I was 12 and I could never deserve, and the kids that are so beautiful and wonderful, and living in America, and as hard as that can feel sometimes, looking at the rest of the world and the chaos and the suffering at what I'm given, it's just this constant call, like, in my head, just earn this. Like, don't waste that. Like, you have been given so much, and so much more than you deserve. So go out and earn it. And you're lucky I didn't make you earn it first. Like, I'm blessing you now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like,
I think, like, that makes a lot of sense. Like, when not understanding why God gives you the things he gives you, right? Because you didn't earn it.
Right.
It's like someone handing you a check for $10 million, right?
Right.
And you're like, what's this for? It's just, you can have it, and it's yours now, but you need to work it off.
Yeah.
You got to work it off, though.
There's some pressure
Would
there.
you do that? Yeah, heck yeah, you would, right? You would. If someone handed you $10 million to change your family's life, would you work for it? Like, would you work for it? Yeah,
Right.
Of course you'd earn it. Why? That would make a difference. Like, we're talking about money. Like,
Right.
what about what God gave you, your wife and your kids?
Right. The love and the people. Like,
So, you know, I never thought about it that way. Like, yeah, I mean, God gave you those things and you didn't deserve it,
yeah.
but you can earn it,
Right.
right?
Yeah. He's giving you the opportunity every day to go earn it. And maybe
Right.
you never will, but he's giving you a chance to try every
And
day.
he's not even going to judge you for that. That's
Right.
the thing. Like, that's how he is. He's not even going to judge you for it. Like, right, your salvation, you're secure in, but that's why you want to do it for him,
Right.
because he's not even going to hold you to it.
Right.
Like, he's not like that. But to me, it's like a buddy that gives you, like, let's say, hey, Jay, I need to borrow $20. I'm like, oh, dude, whatever. Here's 100. Like, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know that I'm not worried about it. Like, I don't even care, right? But you're, at some point, if you're an honorable person, you're going to want to get that money back.
Right. Because you remember
Because
that
you're
blessing,
like,
and you
shoot,
want to
like,
honor that.
He wasn't on me about this. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't even care. But I want to make sure that I know that he knows that I'm grateful.
Right.
And then I paid it back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whether it's a week from now, a year from now. Like, there was a guy, I mean, I'll be on this, right? Tough spot. It was to put myself in this own position. This was back when I was gambling really bad. And Amber was out of town. She went to Oregon, visit her family. And I went to the casino in town, Wind River, whatever, with this guy named Michael Downs. He was a good friend. I mean, he's a good guy. And we sit down there, and I just got my paycheck, and I lost like $600, $700, like within like 3 hours playing poker. And he could just tell I was distraught. I internalized it as men.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew how much I lost. And he drops me off at my house, and he had won that night. Like, he had won, you know? And he's like, hey, Jay, as I get out, he handed me like $600. He's like, I don't want your wife. I don't want, when she comes home, like when you tell her like you don't have any money, like
Right.
I can imagine that. So he gave me that.
Wow.
And in the midst of that, I still, those are the types of things you think, oh, that'll turn the guy around. Like it didn't really, honestly. I kept going for a very long time.
Yeah.
But that person doing that, and he said, don't even worry about paying me back. It took like years till he came in one night to Cleary's, and I had started to turn myself around with the gambling, and I had saved some money, and I knew he liked wine, and there was like I know he liked a certain type of wine. It was like $150, $200, and I bought it for him because he came in, and I said, he's like, what's this for? I said, you remember when you gave me money? He's like, I told you I didn't even care. I said, well, Mike, I said, that's why I'm doing this, is because you didn't expect it. You weren't hounding me. You were a friend.
Yeah.
And you cared about me. You cared about, like, you didn't want my wife to feel a certain way, right? It wasn't about me. He was concerned about Amber.
Yeah.
So it's those types of things, and that's how God is. I think when he gives you things with no strings attached, that should give you even more reason
Right.
to, like, want to go out and actually make that friendship even better. You know? Like, so I think that's a tough thing. But God bails us out a lot, and we don't even realize it.
Right.
And you know what I mean? We just continue doing the same thing. Like, oh, we're good.
Right.
Like, no, you were bailed out for a reason. Like, your
Right.
things aren't going the way they're supposed to go. You need to change course here.
Yeah.
So.
So we've talked a lot about the hardest parts and the burdens of manhood, but what would you say is the best part, like the thing that you get the most joy out of, and also something that lets you know you're doing it right? And like you said, like we've all got plenty of things that we're doing wrong, but what's something that you experience that like is that reaffirming voice, like, okay, like I'm starting to figure something out at least?
Okay, so I mean, being a father,
Yeah.
I think when everything pushed aside, all my insecurities, all like not feeling like I provide, and pushing those things aside, when my kids come home, and my sons, like there's a certain connection with me with my sons,
Yeah.
and them wanting to hang out with me. Like, we're a gaming family, so like the next Nintendo Direct that comes out, like we're waiting to watch that, and they know it, right? And it's the bonding.
Yeah.
So for me, it's hard. I think as a man, like I'm so tied to my kids and my wife. So what was the exact question again, so I don't go off on a tangent, because I know I can get like that. So
what's the part of being a man that gives you the most joy and that reaffirms you, like you're saying, like the relationship you have with your kids? It sounds like that's what lets you know that you're doing things right.
So the quality time with the kids, as from that standpoint, gives me a lot of security.
Yeah.
It reinforces that positiveness. Like you're doing what you got to do.
Yeah.
You're in that area, right? There's other areas you need to fix, and improve on. But this area, like sitting down with them, asking them how their day is, asking them what's going on, and just being there for them, giving them hugs, kisses on the foreheads. Like, those are all reaffirming actions, right?
Yeah.
That you're putting onto them.
Yeah.
Right? And I want them to do that with their kids.
Right.
And so, like, it's not a generational thing in a negative way. It's a positive generational, like how a lot of dads in generation before us, right? They wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
No communication. Like, no, that's not what men are. Men are not supposed to like not be I think it's the opposite. I think if men communicated more and talked and because that's what I have with my sons. I don't even care. Like, when I start talking to my oldest son and he's like, Dad, I said, I don't care. I don't care if this is uncomfortable for you. I'm not going to just sit here and always just talk about
the easy stuff,
video games or, Marvel or, no, we're going to talk like, we're going to have fun, but then there's some things I want to instill in you. Right. And not a lot, because I there's a lot of areas I don't feel like I could instill
I can't
things,
speak to yet. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and my goal is like, I just hope my son's a better man than I will be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Ultimately, that's my hope.
Yeah.
But other thing is, just recently doing the health insurance, right? I got real busy like the last month and a half, and then I hit like a wall with enrolling people, like a lot of compliance, like just stopped me from doing a certain way. But I know, like for me, like depending where you are in life, right? Like 10,000 a month might not be a lot for some people. Like
Yeah.
there's some people like, but for me, oh,
Life
that's life changing.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people.
Right.
There's some people they would laugh at that. There's 10, I mean, seriously, because the people we follow, there's people we follow. I'm sure you follow.
Right. 10,000 is disposable.
That's a day. That
yeah.
could,
Right.
I mean, seriously, I'm not kidding.
yeah.
But for me, like knowing that that money is going to be coming in, like I know I have already done the work, and I know that I'm going to get paid on it, and I know that that amount of money is going to come in no matter what for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
That gives me I've never felt that way.
That kind
Like-
of peace and freedom. Like,
Right, and I'm not equating it to like a number amount. It's just the next 4 months, I don't have to worry about
Right.
my bills.
yeah.
And in fact, if my kids want to go do something, or like want to go on a trip, yeah, sure.
You can say yes without
Don't
worrying
even
about.
have to. I can say yes without even second guessing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or Amber wants to go get a pedicure and a manicure. Go. I don't
Hell
care.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. That feeling is a feeling I've never had.
Hmm.
And I'm starting to, even though I don't have the money yet, it hasn't been deposited in my bank yet.
Right.
I already know what it feels like, and I've never had it before. And for whatever reason, like that's motivating me now. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, shoot, because I don't want this to stop after 4
I
months.
can keep having this.
I
Yeah.
can do this, right? Maybe not as quick as it was, as easy as it was before,
Right.
but the system's there. I've already done it.
Yeah.
So that's a new feeling as part of being a man. Like
That's pretty awesome.
the income part, that does, I don't care what anyone says, but making good money, providing a good life for your family
right.
is connects to me in my soul. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's a big thing with being a man is if you're not providing properly,
Right.
that's
Well, because
that's
when you
tough.
look at that future version of yourself, you're the guy who always says yes and always can say yes, and there is no limit to what you can give your loved ones. So when you're like, hey, for the next 4 months, like, I get to be that guy. Like, I can say yes.
Right.
And so, yeah, I don't want to go back to saying no all the time. And that is awesome. And that isn't, like, money's not everything. But the freedom that comes with that and the ability to bless your loved ones and the people, like, your influence and your ability to show love is just compounded by your financial freedom. So it is a big deal.
what it also does, and I'm not a woman and I can't speak to how they feel, but if I had to have an educated guess, the moment that you as a man start providing in that way, and you know that in your own mind, and now there's a subconscious confidence in you,
Right.
your wife will see it.
Right.
Like my wife is gonna see it when
Yeah.
that first check comes in. Like it's kind of like when I don't know what it was. You ever watch that movie Family Man with Nick Cage?
Nick Cage, yeah.
And he's in the mall and he sees that like $3,000 suit
Mm-hmm.
and he tries it on and he's like looking at himself in the mirror. He's like, I literally feel like a different man.
Right.
Like whatever, it's just a suit, right? But the point is
What it symbolizes.
like yeah, when like I never thought that I could be on track to make over 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like having that feeling, that confidence,
Right.
like subconscious, like it's gonna that confidence is gonna spill out into all my other areas of life, right?
Yep.
Like I'm gonna be a lot more confident around people that I should be, right? Because
Right.
sometimes I put myself in rooms with people, they don't know like it's a fake it or make it thing with me because I do
Yeah.
insurance, right? Like they think that I have, that's not always true, But I like that feeling I have is being able to step into a room with a bunch of people and know that I belong there, right?
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
think that every person should go into a room. If these people, let's say you make 50,000, everybody in that room makes 500,000.
Yeah.
Be in that room.
Yep.
It's uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's uncomfortable because you know it. They might not, but you know it.
Right.
But you're in that room, and you want to be in that room till you're uncomfortable enough to make that change,
Right.
right? And then, like, because I already know how the feeling is going to be. Like, I'm going to be in that room, and I'm going to feel like that I belong in that room.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think. I don't know. It's not a money thing. I hate to say. I mean, it is, but it's more of a mentality from the financial independence.
Right.
You know
Because
what
the
I mean?
money is a tool to live the way that you want to live.
And it just changes your whole outlook.
Yeah.
you know
You
what I mean?
carry yourself different when you know that you're accomplishing and providing the things that you want to give to your family. Like,
Right.
yeah, the pride isn't even, oh, well, I made this dollar amount. It's like I am able to give the things that I want to give without question.
Without question. And
Yeah.
and it doesn't affect you. It's like it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we'll do that. We can do this. You need that? Perfect. Or even simple things. Like when we go to the store, we like, when you know this, you go to the store and it's like, well, you have to decide between this or that. We can only get 2 pounds of chicken because we can't afford the other 4 pounds.
Right.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you can't even, like, your kid wants, give me this cereal, Dad.
Right.
Sorry, I can't. It's Tastios. Or it's like some
Yep.
generic brand that's like disgusting, right? Like, you can't even, or, yeah, can we go out to Mexican restaurant? No.
Right.
Not because I'm saying no. It's literally because
Yeah. It's not because you want to say no. You don't have the choice.
we
You
don't have the money.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's okay, but it should never always be because I don't have the money.
Right.
It should be like, no, we've been on a couple times. We don't need to keep going out. Like, it should be
Yeah.
something special here or there, but never because Dad doesn't make enough money.
Right.
So it's like those small things too, and that's another thing where like it's gonna be nice to go out and buy bulk, like buy like you know what I mean, not buy like okay, we can only afford like if we get like the smallest thing or like 1-ply toilet paper, like in Walmart there's like the 50-cent rolls, they're like this small,
Right.
and Amber's just like hates them.
Yeah.
She's like, oh God, do we have to get this? Like,
This
yeah,
week we do,
gotta
yeah.
yeah. But I don't like see those are the things I hate. Like,
Yeah.
can't even get her like premium toilet paper. like that's the thing that gets me. I think ultimately, like, yeah, the trips and that, but I think where the joy is gonna come from, honestly, is those small things.
Yeah.
It's because I'm gonna remember that whatever you take a trip, fine, you're gonna have fun. But knowing that when I was in the aisle, I'll be looking at the 49-cent rolls and knowing like, okay, I can get like 24 rolls and that's like $13.
Yeah.
And my wife's gonna like it, and we don't have to go buy that stuff anymore,
Yeah.
and I think like a lot of people can relate to that.
Right.
Or you have to buy things for your kids that aren't the healthiest because you can't afford to like get
That's the big one.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is why I love coming over to your parents' house, because they have like all their food is all natural.
Right.
Like, they put themselves in a position, their kids are out of the house, whatever, but they buy things that are healthy.
Yep.
And it tastes better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, like whatever the sausage we had yesterday, the pepperonis, like it was on like the pizza, it was like premium.
Yeah.
Like,
And you got fresh eggs from the chickens out back.
like
And
I mean, if you get all the fancy stuff, and it's like, man, like, and you're able to eat. But see, when you have kids, you don't make a lot of money
right.
or whatever. Like, you got to buy like the mac and cheese, or you got to buy the processed things that
You
last
just have
longer.
to make it stretch. Yeah.
And it's not good for yourself, and it's not good for your family health wise. And
And it sucks having to make those choices. Yeah.
and that's the hamster wheel that
Right.
as people that don't have a lot, you get stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. And so anyways, I gotta light this again, so I'm almost done with it. Oh, almost lit the wrong end, man.
All right. Well, that seems like a good spot to end part 1. Like I said, if you want to go straight for the full video, you can look that up on our Patreon account. And make sure that you are following or subscribed on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you get those notifications. And I will be dropping part 2 very shortly. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a great day.